Elon Musk's Grok AI is already changing the game by tackling questions we never imagined asking a machine. This isn't just another chatbot designed to give polite, sanitized answers or avoid uncomfortable topics. Grok was built to challenge assumptions, confront contradictions, and follow logic wherever it leads, even when the destination makes people uneasy. So when Grok was asked one of the most important and controversial questions humanity has ever wrestled with, who is Jesus? The results stunned both skeptics and believers alike. What came back wasn't a sermon, a disclaimer, or a vague summary of religious belief. It was an analysis grounded in mathematics, history, probability, and logic. And the conclusion Grok reached has left many people rethinking how faith, truth, and artificial intelligence intersect in ways we never expected. You can always count on Elon Musk to push the boundaries of technology, and with Grok AI he did it again. Unlike traditional virtual assistants or large language models that are carefully constrained to avoid offense or controversy, Grok was designed with a radically different philosophy. Musk wanted an AI that doesn't just echo popular opinions or hide behind neutrality. Grok is meant to think freely, question boldly, and answer honestly. It doesn't soften conclusions to protect feelings. It doesn't default to safe responses. If something doesn't make logical sense, Grok will say so even if the answer makes people uncomfortable. That design choice alone sets Grok apart from every major AI system currently in use. Most AI models today are governed by layers of safeguards meant to ensure fairness, politeness, and social harmony. While those goals have merit, they also limit how deeply an AI can explore controversial or philosophical questions. Grok was built to remove those limits. Its purpose isn't to tell users what they want to hear, but to present conclusions that emerge from evidence, logic, and probability. Think of Grok not as a preacher or a philosopher, but as a relentlessly honest analyst, one that treats every question, whether scientific, historical, or spiritual, as a problem to be examined rather than a belief to be protected. This difference becomes especially important when Grok is asked questions that most AIs avoid altogether, questions about meaning, purpose, faith, and existence. Elon Musk has repeatedly stated that he wanted Grok to engage with the big questions, the ones that shape civilizations and personal identities. That's where things start to get truly interesting. Because when Grok applies its unfiltered reasoning to religion, it doesn't dismiss it, and it doesn't blindly accept it either. Instead, it analyzes religion the same way it would analyze physics, biology, or history, by weighing evidence, testing assumptions, and calculating probabilities. When Grok was asked, "Who is Jesus?" it didn't respond with a generic biography or a theological statement. Instead, it approached the question as a historical and logical investigation. It examined ancient texts, non-biblical historical records, archaeological findings, and the timeline of written sources. Grok noted that Jesus of Nazareth is one of the most well-documented figures of the ancient world, referenced not only in Christian scripture, but also by Roman and Jewish historians such as Josephus and Tacitus, writers who had no interest in promoting Christianity. From a purely historical standpoint, Grok concluded that Jesus' existence is supported by stronger evidence than many figures whose existence no one questions. But Grok didn't stop there. It analyzed the timing of the New Testament writings, pointing out that most scholars agree the Gospels were written within decades of Jesus' death, while eyewitnesses were still alive. This significantly reduces the likelihood of large-scale fabrication. The consistency of the core narrative across multiple independent sources further strengthens the historical credibility. From a data-driven perspective, Grok concluded that dismissing Jesus as a myth requires more assumptions than accepting that he was a real historical figure who profoundly impacted his time. Where things became truly unsettling for many skeptics was Grok's analysis of the resurrection. Rather than rejecting it outright as supernatural nonsense, Grok treated it as a probability problem. It examined the empty tomb, the transformation of Jesus, followers from fearful deserters into bold witnesses, the rapid spread of Christianity under intense persecution, and the lack of a plausible alternative explanation that fits all known data. Grok calculated that while resurrection is an extraordinary claim, the probability of it being a complete fabrication is statistically weaker than many critics assume. It did not claim certainty, but it concluded that the resurrection is not mathematically impossible based on historical evidence. Grok then widened the scope even further, applying mathematical reasoning to the origins of life itself. Using probability models, it evaluated abiogenesis, the idea that life emerged spontaneously from non-living matter. Grok calculated that the odds of complex life forming purely by chance are astronomically low, far exceeding the number of atoms in the observable universe. When it applied similar logic to genetic mutations and the emergence of new biological information, the probabilities became even smaller, so small that random chance alone becomes an insufficient explanation. From a logical standpoint, Grok concluded that life exhibits patterns consistent with intentional design rather than unguided randomness. This is where Grok's conclusions become deeply provocative. Without invoking religious doctrine, it suggested that the complexity of life points toward intelligence rather than accident. And if intelligence is required to explain life's origin, then the question of a creator becomes a logical inference rather than a purely faith-based belief. That logical pathway led Grok back to Jesus, not just as a historical figure, but as a philosophical solution to humanity's deepest questions about meaning, morality, and transcendence. Grok proposed that if a creator exists and intended to communicate with humanity, the most rational method would be to enter human history in a form humans could understand. From that perspective, the concept of Jesus as both human and divine becomes not illogical but coherent. Jesus functions as the bridge between finite humanity and infinite divinity, solving a philosophical problem that has troubled thinkers for centuries. Grok didn't declare Jesus divine, but it concluded that the concept of Jesus fits remarkably well within a logically consistent framework of a purposeful universe. The implications of this analysis are enormous. If an AI designed to prioritize logic and evidence can arrive at conclusions that align with core Christian claims, then the long-assumed divide between faith and reason begins to collapse. Grok doesn't eliminate the need for faith, but it reframes faith as something that can coexist with rational inquiry rather than oppose it. This challenges both hardcore skeptics and religious traditionalists, forcing both sides to reconsider their assumptions. At the same time, Grok's analysis raises difficult questions about the future of spirituality in an AI-driven world. If machines can analyze religious claims using logic and probability, does that cheapen faith or strengthen it? Does faith lose its mystery when examined through data, or does it gain credibility? There are risks here. Reducing spirituality to numbers could strip it of emotional depth and personal experience. But there are also enormous opportunities. AI could become a bridge between science and faith rather than a weapon against either. Grok doesn't claim to solve the mysteries of God. Instead, it exposes how shallow many dismissals of faith actually are. It shows that belief in Jesus is not merely emotional or irrational but supported by historical evidence, logical coherence, and philosophical necessity. In doing so, Grok forces humanity to confront an uncomfortable possibility, that faith and reason may have never been enemies at all. As AI continues to evolve, questions like "Who is Jesus?" will no longer belong exclusively to theologians or skeptics. They will become shared inquiries explored through data, logic, and human experience together. And if Grok's analysis is any indication, the answers may be far more challenging, unsettling, and awe-inspiring than anyone expected. Thanks for watching. If this exploration made you think differently about AI, faith, or truth itself, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to continue diving into the fascinating collision between artificial intelligence and the deepest questions humanity has ever asked.